So in my last video, I was talking about, how politically correct is too politically correct and and I started talking about bipolarism and stuff like that and how that's like specific mental illnesses is when I start getting annoyed at the use of it as a slur or like as an insult or a slur or whatever, because I don't mind saying crazy or insane or nuts or whatever, but when you start like, oh, it's so bipolar and whatever, it's kind of like now you're talking about specific people. So I'm going to talk about mental illness and stigma and all that other shit now. So when people say there's become a lot more acceptance of people with mental illnesses, but usually it's just the main ones that aren't the scary ones, I guess. Like people are more sympathetic towards depression and anxiety and there's not a stigma against people with ADHD, but not everyone thinks it exists, and I mentioned this in my other video. It does. It does. It does. Is it overdiagnosed in children? Hell yeah, but it is an actual mental illness that exists in people, and just because it's overdiagnosed doesn't mean that it isn't a real thing. So, yeah. Now, the thing is you have this, like, oh, we accept people with mental illnesses. Oh, they say they're sympathetic and they accept them and they're, all this other stuff, but it's oftentimes they're not actually, because the same sort of people who say that shit are the same sort of people who are like, oh, just calm down when someone's having an anxiety attack, and it's like, oh, come on, you're so lazy, when depression is making it so you have no fucking energy to do anything. But then saying you're accepting of mental illnesses, and even if you are accepting of those two main ones, it seems that everyone's more sympathetic to those than any other, but then you're not as accepting as these scarier ones. And even with anxiety, there are some scary ones that people, or not some scary, but there's some more severe ones that people just they're not as, accepting of, like OCD, for example, is an anxiety disorder. And that one is another one that just gets thrown around a lot. OCD is a debilitating mental illness. It's one of the higher debilitating mental illnesses that's up there with like personality disorders and schizophrenia and bipolar and stuff like that. It's not down there with social anxiety. So you saying you're OCD because you like things neat is an insult to people with OCD. OCD causes you to do ridiculous things, awful things. Not awful things to other people as much, it's more to yourself, and it affects every aspect of daily life a lot of the time, and it can make relationships really difficult, and it's not fun in mental illness, it just isn't. And not to mention, OCD also includes having intrusive thoughts, which are, those kind of really fucked up thoughts that just pop in your head from nowhere, or like you're holding a knife and you're standing near someone and then in your head you're envisioning like stabbing them, or you're holding a baby envisioning what would happen if you dropped it, or like you have like sexual ones exist too. Anyway, so people with OCD, certain types of OCD, or like OCD in general, another symptom of it is intrusive thoughts getting stuck in your head like a song. So could you imagine that awful thought? You're like, oh, get out of my head. Except it won't. It just keeps on replaying over and over and over again for a while until you can finally distract your brain, which takes a lot of effort. But then let's even talk about the ones that aren't as casual and that are the scary ones. And a lot of people associate these ones with like freaking psycho killers and everything else, even like schizophrenia. Everyone treats schizophrenia like a ticking time bomb until they fucking go and murder someone. Did you know schizophrenics... Sorry about that. Shut up. And schizophrenics are less likely than the general population to commit violent crimes. They are, however, more likely to suffer from abuse, homelessness, drug addiction, and which includes alcohol, by the way, and suicide. So, than the general population. So, stop thinking that someone has schizophrenia because they're gonna fucking murder you or something. Same goes for personality disorders. And another thing just about personality disorders, as soon as people hear personality disorder, they think every single type of personality disorder is dissociative identity disorder, which is the typical multiple personality disorder. And doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of what all the different types of personality disorder are. For example, my mother and I both have BPD, which is borderline personality disorder, and people think, oh, well, you're just like almost a personality disorder, right? Like you almost have multiple personalities. No, that's not what that means. I'm not 100% sure why it's called borderline, but anyways. You know what borderline personality disorder is? It means that you are overly you have a way higher emotional sensitivity than other people. It's been described as having no emotional skin, and also you don't have a concrete sense of self, which is where the main thing of the personality disorder comes from, because you don't feel like you have a concrete self the way other people do, and you're sort of you have issues with impulsivity, and also a big diagnostic thing for BPD is that you're always afraid that no matter what you do, people are going to leave you. Like, you're always terrified of everyone leaving you and hating you and all this fucking time. It's fucking miserable. And I know there's a lot of social anxiety with that, but like, it's constant. Like, you need constant reassurance that someone actually enjoys your company or whatever, or actually likes you or loves you even. And no matter what their behavior is, you feel that they hate you, and that it'll take anything for them to want to have nothing to do with you, even something stupid as like leaving the dishes out or something. So that's that. And then bipolar disorder, which is kind of what started this whole thing, what people think it is, flip-flopping emotions, going from totally calm to totally pissed off from nothing, and all this other bullshit, and you never know what to expect. No! Not even a little bit. No, fuck off. Do you know what bipolar is? It means you have episodes of depression and mania. And here's the deal. A typical manic episode lasts a week or more. A typical depressive episode lasts 2 weeks or more. And you aren't constantly in one state or the other, which is why they're called episodes and not states. And in fact, a rare type of bipolar, which is rapid cycling bipolar, is when you have 4 or more episodes of either a year. So you could have 2 manic episodes and 2 depressive episodes, and each of them only lasts like a couple weeks. And then the rest of the time you have no depression or mania. And by the way, mania is extreme elation, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. And you could still be bipolar, and most of the time you're fine though. So, like, no, what you think bipolar is isn't what bipolar is. But why it can be debilitating? Well, depression can be fucking debilitating, as you know, and mania can be very dangerous, because you are, like the impulsivity I mentioned, it ends up, a lot of times people with untreated bipolar, when they're in a manic episode, engage in risky behaviors, which could end in harm of someone, or illegal acts without thinking, or they could, and they end up overspending and risky sex even, or it causes emotional issues in regards to interpersonal relationships and stuff like that. It's not fun, but I mean, it's manageable with journaling and medication and, constantly seeing like a therapist of some kind, whether it be a psychiatrist, counselor, etc. But yeah. And also in terms of the anxiety disorder, I'm just going to throw this in at the end. Like I mentioned, they're not all social anxiety disorder. That's just what everyone thinks it is. Like, for example, GAD, Generalized Anxiety Disorder, is actually more similar, of what people understand autism to be. So, because you can have panic attacks from just being overstimulated, like too much noise and sights and stuff going on, and you shut down and everything else, and you can need stim toys the way an autistic person does. And stim toys, by the way, are just things to fiddle with, basically stimulation toys. So yeah, I have that too, so fun times for me. Also, another one that no one thinks is a dangerous one and just kind of pushes off. Actually, I'll make a whole fucking video about insomnia. That's what I'll do. I'm on a fucking roll making all these videos today.